Hello everybody, welcome to this instruction video. This video is for part 8 of the Scheepjes Color Lab KAL. In part 8 we're going to be making small triangles and small squares. We're going to be joining them to the squares that we made in part 7, and then the panel that we create with that we're going to be joining to our blanket, and then we'll also be finishing everything off with a border. So there's quite a lot to do in part 8. Let's get started. For row 1 of the solid triangle, we're going to start with a magic ring, as we've done before, and then grab that loop. And there we go. Now in the ring we're going to start with a beginning double treble. So that means it's a double crochet in the ring, and then a chain 2. That's the beginning double treble. Now in the ring 3 trebles. That's 1 and 2 and 3. Now 1 double treble, so yarn over twice. 1, 2, 3 times, take off 2 loops. Now again 3 trebles in the ring. 1, 2 and 3, and then we finish with again a double treble. So yarn over twice. 1, 2, 3. There we go. And now close the ring. So grab your yarn tail and carefully pull at this tail. You don't want to accidentally break off your yarn, so don't pull too hard, but there we go. And now you can see you've got this small triangle here. Turn your work. I'm going to have the other side facing for row 2. Actually, before we continue with row 2, I'm just going to put a stitch marker in the double treble that's here in the middle, and that's just because it's then easier to see on the other side, because this double treble here is the corner. So I'm just going to pop a stitch marker in that double treble stitch. And now turn for row 2. So row 2. Going to what we're going to work in this row, you're going to repeat for the rows 3 and 4 also. Now we're going to start in the first stitch, work a beginning double treble. So that means in here you work a double and then a chain 2. That's your beginning double treble. And now in the same stitch work 2 trebles. So this is 1 and 2. So you've got 3 stitches in that first stitch. Now work a treble until you get to this marked corner stitch, which is the double treble. Now in this case it's only 4 stitches, but in later rows it will be more. So a treble on the next stitches till the marked stitch. So this is 1, 2, 3. No, this time it was actually just 3. I didn't see that correctly. So 3 stitches. And the next stitch is the mark stitch, and that's why it's a good idea to just mark this double treble, then you don't accidentally work too many stitches. Now in this stitch that I've now marked, I'm just going to remove the marker. I'll pop it back in a moment. I'm going to work 2 trebles, a double treble and 2 trebles. So in this stitch work 2 trebles. So that's 1 and 2. Now a double treble, so yarn over twice, 1, 2, 3, and I'm just again going to mark this double treble, then I can easily find it when we come back for the next row. And 2 more trebles in the same stitch. 1 and 2. So in that stitch you worked 5 stitches, and the center one, that's a double treble, that's a corner. We're now going to come down and work a treble on every stitch except for the last stitch. So on the next stitches, which should be 3 because that's what we had coming up, so that's 1, 2 and 3. There we go, 3 trebles. In the last stitch here, you see here, this is the beginning treble. We've got the double and then the chain 2. On that stitch we're going to work basically a corner, which is going to be 2 trebles and a double treble. I'm just going to insert my hook here in the top, so that's in the second of the chains. So insert my hook in there for 1 treble, 2 trebles, and now a double treble. And this is your work at the moment. And now you can again turn for row 3. For row 3 you're going to repeat row 2. That means I'll quickly run you through row 3, but it's the exact same idea. So on the first stitch we'll work a beginning double treble. So it's a double crochet and a chain 2, and then 2 more trebles in the same stitch. So 1 and 2. And now work a treble right on every stitch until you get to the marked stitch. See, that's why it's so easy to mark the stitch, then you don't accidentally go around the corner and miss that stitch. So that's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, it appears I have 7 stitches here. Could be, I don't know, I didn't count them. 7 stitches, and now I'm at the marked corner stitch. And here we do the same as we did in the previous corner stitch. So 2 trebles. That's 1, 2, and then again a double treble that I'm going to mark, so yarn over twice. 1, 2, 3, and now I'm just going to pop the marker in that stitch again, and 2 trebles. 1, 2. You can see how really marking that corner just makes life a little bit easier for you. Now we're going to come down and work a treble on every stitch, and in the last stitch we work a corner. So in theory this should be 7 because we had 7 coming up. So that's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, and 7. It's always a relief when stitches actually work out. 7, and now you've got only 1 stitch left. That's the beginning stitch, which gets the same corner as before. So 2 trebles in that second of the 2 chains. 1, 2 trebles and a double treble, so yarn over twice for the last stitch. And there we go. That was row 3. Now turn your work once more for row 4. Row 4, which I've already worked here, is an exact repetition of row 3. Only difference, and row 2 of course, is that the stitches along the edge here are long. There are more of them, so because this edge is longer. For the rest, repeat the same for row 4, and then your first square is, or your first triangle I should say, is completed. When you've worked one triangle, well, you actually need to work quite a few more. I've got 2 here, I've got 2 triangles, but you need to work 20 in total. So you're going to have a whole stack of these little triangles, all in different colors, and then put these triangles to your blanket according to the motifs and the color layout. So for now, make 20 of these triangles. Around one of the grannies, here's my yarn. I'm going to start with the magic ring, so crossing that over. Here's the yarn tail. From the bottom, grab that loop and then come back from the top and grab it again. There we go. Now you're going to start with the beginning treble here in the ring. I'm just going to close it a little bit. There we go. So that means in the ring work a double and a chain 1. That's the beginning treble. Then chain 1. This is a space, a corner space, and now 2 more trebles in the ring. 1 and 2. I'm going to do this 3 times, so that was once. So chain 1 and then again 2 trebles. 1 and 2. That was the second time. And then a third time, chain 1 and 2 trebles. 1 and 2. Then to finish off this round, a chain 1 and 1 treble in the ring. There we go. I'm going to close the ring, so that means pull on the yarn tail. So your ring is closed, and then close on that first beginning treble. So there it is. So here's the beginning treble. That's a chain 1 for the space. So going to go to this one here. Just close on there with a slip stitch. And then move to the chain space with another slip stitch. And there you go. Now you have 4 edges with 2 trebles and chain 1s in between. Turn your work for the next round. Round 2, you have the wrong side facing. You're currently in this chain space. Start there with the beginning treble. So in that space, work a double and a chain 1. Then chain 1, this is for a space, and work 3 trebles in the same space, so where you're currently at. So work 3 more trebles. So that's 1, 2, and 3. We're now going to come to the next space, that corner there, and work the same in there. So 3 trebles in this space. 1, 2, 3. What you've worked here, I'm going to repeat on the other 3 edges. So that means chain 1, and now 3 more trebles in this space. 1, 2, 3, so you can see how that's a corner, and then come to the next space and work 3 trebles. 1, 2, 3. Now gone halfway around, do 2 more edges, and then I'll just see you back here for the last stitches. Almost at the end. We just need to work 2 more trebles here in this first space that we started with. That's 1 and 2, and then here on the first stitch, that's the beginning treble, close on there with a slip stitch, and then move to the chain space with another slip stitch. That completes round 2. Turn your work for round 3. Round 3, this round is the same also for rounds 4 and 5. Start in the space where you're currently at with a beginning treble, so in that space there, it's a double and a chain 1. Then 3 trebles here in the space, so this is very similar to things we've done before. So 1, 2, and 3. So that chain 1 marks the beginning of the repeat. Then along the edge, you're going to work 3 trebles between the treble groups. Now in this case there's only the 1, but of course in later rounds you'll have more. So 3 trebles in between there. So 1, 2, 3, and then come to the corner, and then you can work 3 trebles. 1, 2, 3, and that's the complete edge. Repeat this on your other 3 sides also. Now I'll just see you back here for the last 2 stitches and the close. Just need to work 2 more trebles in this space where we started. 1 and 2. Then close on the beginning treble with a slip stitch, and move to the corner chain space with another slip stitch. That completes round 3. Turn your work for round 4, and then of course also for round 5. So but from this point repeat this 2 more times. And when you've repeated it round 3 for rounds 4 and 5, your square looks like this. At this point you've made 1 of these squares. You need to make 19 more, so 20 in total. They'll all be different colors, so please check the schematic, you know which colors you need for these squares. But at this point make 20 of these. So what we're going to do now is you have all these squares from parts 7 and 8, the triangles, everything. We're going to be joining them up. So take all your motifs and lay them out according to this schematic. So which motif goes where. Remember I had them all kind of joined here temporarily with yarn and stitch markers and everything. So lay them all out, and then we're going to be joining them up, and I'm going to show you how to do that because I've already made a start on some of the joins. For example, I'll show you here on the other side. So this is where we're going. So you see here are all these motifs, and they're all joined up on. This is on one side of this big panel. But I'll show you how to do that. So for now, do your layouts that the right motifs are in the right place, and then I'll show you how to do the join. Now to join these motifs, what's important first thing is you're going to go up a hook size. I'm going to go up to a 3mm hook, so it's a larger hook that you're going to use. And we're going to use color C, so it's the darkest one of your main colors. This one we're going to use. Now to start this join, it doesn't matter whether you start everything in this direction and then you do the joins in that direction or the other way around. It won't make any difference for your final result. Now what I'm going to show you is I'm going to show you this join here. So you see this join. This one I'm going to show you, but I could have just easily shown you one of these or any one of the others because they're all the same. So this is the join that I'm going to show you. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to flip my work over. We're going to have the wrong side facing, so that's important. So here, this is the wrong side, so I've just flipped it over. And now you can actually see some of the joins that I've already made. So you see them here to the back. So your joins are all to the back. And now we're going to work this edge here. I'm going to start at that point and then work across, joining all these motifs until I get, well, here to the side. Because these two here, like that's how they join, but this actually doesn't join up completely. So I'm just going to finish it here. I'm going to work this edge and then we'll do the others. So, but for now, it's going to zoom in and we're going to start here. So I've zoomed in here and I've got color C on my hook with a slip knot. And what we're going to do is we're going to work this join together. So I've actually removed some of these small pieces of yarn because that just makes it easier for me to work the join. So if I just have some of them removed, we're going to join them together like this and then work this join. So you're going to see here, for example, you see this join here. And when you join them, it's important that you just note the pattern. So you see here is the round edge, that you make sure that they line up, that you don't have them just like this, that you don't have them like that, that you really make sure these circles that they line up. So that's just something in general to kind of pay attention to as you join these motifs. Now as we're going to go, we're going to work 17 slip stitches per motif. So from corner to corner we work 17. Having said that, it's not a disaster if in certain cases you have, for example here, there are no stitches here. You're going to have to kind of play it by feel. If it happens to be 16, it's not the end of the world. Now we're going to start here in the corner, and that's this is where you had where you started that motif, so that little opening there. I'm going to insert my hook here, so top to bottom, so it's actually the back to the front because I have the wrong side facing, and then come to the motif on the other side and insert the hook through there also, and then grab your yarn through all of these and complete the slip stitch. Oh, and my yarn just fell off my hook. That first one can be, well, it is the hardest sometimes, that first stitch, because then once you get going it kind of just flows. So here in the corner, that side in the corner, it doesn't want to, silly thing. And there we go. So now you see I'm going to have them like this, and just kind of play it by feel, where you think, okay, this stitch really works. So you're going to go through, try to find any two loops you think, okay, that really looks like a stitch there, and then come to the other side, kind of insert your hook there and bring everything forward and work a slip stitch, and then come to the next position, well, what you consider the next position, kind of the next stitch, the next space, the next. There you go. And this is perhaps the most difficult one, because here there are no stitches. Here on the next one there are actually stitches there, because that's one of the better edges. So just work this one by one. There's no rush on this, because this is it's really going to take you some time to join all these motifs. And I'm not really counting them, counting my stitches, because like I say, in theory 17 is what really fits well, but really I do have joints here that are only 16 stitches, or in some cases even only 15, and you know, it is what it is. Crochet is in that sense very forgiving, and it's not a disaster in any way. And now I'm slowly but surely getting to kind of this join here, because what you want to really want to make sure is that, like I said, that these lines, that they line up, because otherwise your circles are going to be all wonky. So that's something to really pay attention to. So I've got one on this side and on that side, and this is going to be my last stitch here before I go to the next part of this motif. And now I'm going to go here to the orange and this side to the red, and then again work a slip stitch. And you want to try to grab 2 loops on both edges, but sometimes, you know, it just happens to be, especially on these uneven edges, it just happens to be 2, or it happens to be 3. You know, it is what it is. And here, and now I'm again at like this turning point. I want to make sure that the motifs just line up. So I'm going to take one more here in the orange and one in the red. And now I'm here on the blue. So I'm going to take this one on the blue, and then here it's on the gray. I'm going to do that again. Blue and gray. And then I've got one more here, because you really want to grab this corner stitch, and you know, if it's sometimes it's not like a really easy to see corner, but then you just kind of make it work. So there on that corner stitch you really want to make a slip stitch there, because that way your join is going to be nice and neat. I've got just an extra loop there. There we go. So now I've joined this first motif here. And you can see this is what your work looks like from the back. And if you just turn it over, you see how those lines nicely line up. And that's exactly what you're going for. That this line, you know, it really works. It doesn't make a small jump there. We're now going to like cross over to the next square. I'm just going to remove this little marker here, this yarn marker. And the next set of squares is a little easier, because these actually have stitches. You see here, here you work the doubles and the trebles and the double trebles and all of that. So this one is slightly easier to actually see where you're going to work them. And here you will work 17 stitches, because you do have 17 stitches from corner to corner. So insert your hook into the first stitch, again through the entire stitch, so everything, so both loops, that entire stitch there. And then come to the other side. There. And work a slip stitch. And now you're just going to work one by one this stitch and that stitch. You see you've got through the entire stitch, both sides. So here and there. And indeed, this works. This when you've got these motifs, they work not really easy because you've got the stitches, and on the rough edges they work a little bit harder because you don't have the clear stitches there. But there are of course other combinations possible also, because you could also have one edge, here these stitches like this and other stay like that. So all combinations are possible. You could also have a triangle on a square. Doesn't matter, whichever combination you happen to have in front of you at that given moment. The idea is always the same. You're going to work these slip stitches through both sides, just methodically work them one by one. And I've just snagged a little bit there, and that's not a problem, just work it again. You see there's the loop, so I'll just, there we go. So very methodically, this is something you can really do an easy pace, just join one by one until you get to the corner. And here do be mindful of where that corner is. Let me just remove this here again. Here you see the corner is that longest stitch there in the middle. So you have that this here, that's the corner stitch, that one there. That you don't go around the corner, so be sure to stop at the corner. I've got a few more stitches to do. And then we move on to the next set of squares. And I've got one more stitch. So this is the corner stitch, and if everything went right, that should be the corner stitch on the other side also. So you see that 1, 2, 3. Yes, it's the corner stitch on the other side also. There we go. And now we move over to the next square, which is these two here. So you can see I'm just removing my markers as I go. This way everything kind of stays in place until I'm ready to do that join. And again, here you've got the corner stitches. So I'm going to grab the corner stitch here. That's the center stitch, is that one there. And where is it? There. And the other side. So again, the center stitch there. And work the slip stitch. And then again. Now, I do believe you will start to get the idea. So I'm just going to show you what it looks like when we're finished, because I'm just going to continue on this edge. I'll just zoom out a little bit to show you what we've done so far. So we've done this join here. You see you've done those two there. So those two you've done. So I'm just going to continue. I'm going to work all of these, and then I'll just show you here a little bit. Also here with the triangle, also that lines up perfectly there, that triangle. So just work this entire edge, all of these slip stitches, in theory 17, especially if you have a nice edge like this. And if it's a bit of a rougher edge, you just kind of make that work on the 17 stitches. But this is the idea. Continue this first edge and I'll show you what it looks like when it's finished. And when you've done the entire edge, well, this is your work at this point. I've worked all the joins already in the horizontal direction, so you're going to have to do quite a few more joins, and then we're going to work them in the vertical direction, or the other way around, whichever works for you. I'm going to show you how to do this join, and especially just make this jump over these joints. I'd just like to show you a few tips for that. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to rotate my work here, and I'm going to show you this edge, and especially just these jumps, because that's kind of the point. And now it is a little bit more tricky because you have just less room here than you have on the first join, but for now work all your joins in one direction, and then we're going to do the others. I'm going to start here in the corner. So I'm going to fold these two like that. That makes just for easier joining, and then I'm going to start this join here. Again, color C on my hook, and I'll just zoom in a bit so you can see this properly. Attach with a slip stitch in the corner. Now here the corners are easy because it's the chain space either side. There you go. So through both holes, loops, and there you go. And now we're going to work these stitches in the same way. Again, 17 either side. This your first slip stitch in the corner already counts for 1. And just one by one work all these slip stitches. Same tips apply as on the first one. Give these stitches just some room to breathe, because then your work becomes neat. So you don't want to scrunch up these joints. It is just a little bit tighter in the sense that there's less room here because you've already got the join in the other direction. So it's a bit harder to get your I like to kind of have my hands in there to just guide my hook, and that becomes a little bit more difficult as you're doing these joins. So at a certain point you're just going to have to do it with your hook only. Again, through the entire stitch, so 2 loops on the left, 2 loops on the right, or the bottom and the top, kind of depends on how you look at it. And now I'm almost to the join. And a few things that I find important here. Now I'm almost to there. This stitch is definitely still easy to work. Here, this one and that one. Now the next stitch is the corner stitch, and there are situations in which I just find it almost impossible to get my hook in there, and then I just let that go. So if you can get your hook into this corner stitch, great, work that corner. And if you can't, so be it. Because you've already got the join in the one direction. It's not the end of the world if your corners in that way aren't aligned, because you're going to have that in the same space. Now what I like to do, and this is not in the pattern, but this is something that I like to do, is when I move over to my next squares, I just like to do a chain 1, and if I feel that it's really tight, I even do a chain 2. The reason is then there's no dip here, because I don't want to get this corner to like pull in on itself. So this is just something I like to do to give it a little bit of breathing room. If it doesn't work for you, let that go. Now come to the other side, insert your hook here, and let me just check where is it on the other side. There. Because here you see you have stitches on one end, the blue you actually have stitches, and here the other corner is this rough edge. So I'm going to kind of play this by feel on one edge. There we go, just pull that through. And then I'm just going to continue. So the one side is stitches, that's the blue. And then I just kind of look, where does it nicely line up on the other side. And I work my stitches. And here you see, those are the chains I made. They really lie on top of this join. And from the other side, you don't see anything about that chain at all. So I'm just going to continue with this join in the same way until I get here. And here I'll just do a chain 1, maybe a chain 2, kind of feel it, and just work this entire edge all the way, well, until you get to the end. There. and here you fasten off again. But it's the same idea as before. Work those slip stitches one by one along your edges, and here for your corner, when you get to a crossing point, that chain one can just help you to prevent your work from really scrunching up and being too tight. When you've joined up all those squares and motifs, this is what your work looks like. You've got 3 of these like triangle sections, and that's and we're going to continue working first on this panel, and then we'll join this panel to the blanket. I'm going to start by working a granny stitch edging around the panel, and I'm just going to zoom in, and I'm going to zoom into this point here. This is on the edge of the blanket, so I'm going to zoom in here. Then here we're going to start, and then we're going to work up along this edge and then come down on this edge till here, and then go up and down and up and down and all the way around. And that's what we're going to do now, and then we'll join it to the blanket. So we're going to start here in the corner. You've got that double treble there, that stitch. There's also a join in there, and that stitch we're going to join our yarn and start. So I'm going to poke my hook in there. Like I said, there's already a join in there, so I'm just going to, there. Oh wait, I just want the entire stitch there. So attach with a slip stitch in that corner on the triangle, which I'm just, there we go. Now in this stitch, I'm going to start with the beginning treble. So that means first a double and a chain one. That's the beginning treble, and in the same stitch work another treble. So you're going to have 2 trebles in that one stitch. There we go. We're now going to work along the edge of this triangle, and what we're going to do is, you've got these double trebles here, and you're going to use them as though they are chain loops. So we're going to, so if you just pull up your work, you see like that gap there, that you're going to use that as though these are chain spaces. Now in this first chain space between brackets here, you're going to work 2 trebles. So that's 1 and 2. In the next 14 spaces, so like I said, so these are here along the edge, you're going to work 3 trebles in each space. And each triangle, so it's an easy way to remember, each triangle has 8 of these chains, because you worked 4 rows, so that's why you've got 8. So in the next 7 is this triangle, so 1, 2, 3, so 3, and so this was the first space, and here's the second. 1, 2, 3. This you're going to continue, and when you've done 14, it'll bring you here to the top, because you're going to do 7 on this, and then 7 on the next, and then there will be 1 space left. So easily, just one set at a time, work these stitches. So it's 3 trebles in every space, which is actually just the edge of those triangles. So now I've done 3, and I'll do 4 more on this one, and then I'll do 7 on the other to give you 14 in total. 1, 2, 3. I'm not going to make a jump in the video, so I've now done this 4 times, and then I'll see you back here when you're almost to the top of the first triangle, of the first, well, the peak in the motif, let me call it that. So I'm now here at the top, at the peak of the motif. You see here I've worked 14 times 3 trebles along the edge. Then you've got one loop left there, and in that loop work 2 trebles. There. 1, 2. Now right here at the peak, right here in the middle here, we're going to work 5 trebles. And just make a judgment call where you think, okay, that works best. I'm just going to insert it here in the middle and work those 5 trebles. So 1, 2, 3, 4, there we go, 5. I've worked 5 trebles there, right at the top. We're now going to come down and work along the next triangle here, so I'm going to rotate it here. And along this edge, you're going to work 8 times 3 trebles, so that's the entire length of the triangle. So in all those chain spaces. So this here is 1, so that gets 1, 2, 3 trebles, and then this is the second one. And this way you're going to work 8 times 3, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, and 8. And here I'll see you back just for the next few stitches. For now, work 3 trebles in every space until you've done this entire first triangle. I'll now just make a small jump in the video. I've worked 8 of these groups, and now we're here at the corner, and you see actually this is the corner of one of those little squares. Now in that corner work 2 trebles. So here in the corner stitch, so this is between the triangles, 1 and 2. 2 trebles in there. Now what you've just done on this first triangle, so this 8 times 3 trebles and then 2 here in the corner, I'm going to do this 2 more times. So if I just open up my working loop, so here on the next triangle work 8 times, and here in the corner 2, and then on the next triangle again and 2 there in the corner. So you're going to do this on 2 more triangles, and then you have 1 triangle left before you're at the valley, and that's where I'll see you back. So for now, repeat this 2 more times, 3 times in total. So just to give you an overview of where you are now, you're now at this point here. We have still 1 triangle left, and then we're here at the valley, and then we're going to come back up. So you've worked this little repeat 3 times. So the 8 trebles, 8 times 3 trebles, and then the 2 in the corner. So I'm just going to zoom in, and here we're going to work 3 trebles but 7 times, and then we'll do a decrease, and then we'll do it 7 times, and then it'll be that group repeats again. So for now, but I'm going to zoom in and I'll see to work here. So we're going to continue along this edge, and on the first 7 chain spaces work 3 trebles. So this here is first chain space gets 3, so that's 1, 2, 3 trebles. Now this is 1. I'm going to do 6 more, and then I'll see you here for the decrease. Done that repeat 7 times. Now you have 1 loop left here, and we're going to, between this loop and the first loop on the next triangle, between those 2, we're going to work a treble 6 together with 3 legs in this loop and 3 legs in the next loop. Now, let me show you. So yarn over, in the next loop insert, draw up a loop and take off 2. That was 1. I'm going to do 2 more. Yarn over, insert and take off 2. Yarn over, insert and take off 2. So now you've got like 3 legs in this first chain loop. We're now going to come to the next chain loop that's here on the orange triangle there, and do the same as we did here. So yarn over, insert, draw up a loop, take off 2. 1 and 2, yarn over, 3. Now you have 7 loops on your hook. To yarn over and take them all off and kind of just pinch this whole thing together. So this is a treble 6 together, and that really, you know, closes this valley up. On the next 7 loops, and that's here along this triangle, going to work 3 trebles in each chain space. This here is the first one. That's 1, 2, 3, and there comes the second. 1, 2, 3. I'll continue until you've done 7. So I've now done 2. When you've done 7, you'll be here at the end of this first triangle. So work a few more and then I'll see you back. So this is where we are now. You've made 7 times those 3 trebles. And now we're going to do the same repeat that we did before. Here in the corner of, this is a little square, work 2 trebles. So in that corner stitch there. So 1, 2, and then here along the edge, so along the edge of this triangle, so all 8 loops, work 3 trebles in each loop. So 1, 2, 3. There we go. Now all 8 will bring you here, and then this repeat you need to do 3 times again. So it's 1 here in the corner, then 8 times 3 trebles, 1 in the corner, 8 times 3 trebles, 1 in the corner, 8 times 3 trebles, and then you're here at the peak again of your motif, and that's the point where I'll see you back. So repeat this. This is the same as you've done before. Repeat that 3 times. This is the point where you are now, right there at the peak of, right in the middle of this panel. That's where you are now. Now everything you've just done from the previous peak all the way down to the valley here, the decrease, and then all the way up to this peak, you're going to repeat that again. So come down here, the valley, and then all the way up until you get here to the last peak. So all of this repeat again, and then I'll see you back at that point there. So repeat everything 1 more time. So I've done that full repeat once more. And at this point there's just these 2 triangles left here, and then you're at the corner there. So we're going to finish this basically in the same way we did the first part, but just mirrored. So right here at the top there we work 5 trebles. This is 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5. So 5 trebles there at the top. Now along for the last edge you've got two triangles. I'm going to start with the first one. In this first loop, in that loop, work 2 trebles. This first chain space. It's 1, 2. Now on the next 14, so that's 7 on this triangle and 7 here on the blue triangle, work 3 trebles in every chain space. 1, 2, 3. So this is the first one. Now do 13 more, and then that will bring you here, and that's the point where I'll see you back. So this edge here is actually very similar to that first edge that we started with. So I've worked here these 14 groups, and at this point there's one group left there. In that last group work 2 trebles. That's 1 and 2. We're going to finish this first part of the panel by working here in the corner stitch. Work 4 trebles. So in this double crochet, with this double treble stitch in there, so in that corner stitch, if I can just get my hook in there, we'll pretend this is it. I think this is it. 4 trebles. So 1, 2, 3, and this is the last one, 4. Now you've worked 4 trebles, then in the third one, so of those 4 trebles, in that third stitch, just mark that there with a stitch marker. I'm now just going to rotate my work, and here continue here along the bottom on these squares. So I've just rotated my work. Here is where we finished. There's that stitch marker we just placed. Now along this edge we're going to work 23 of these 3 granny groups. So in a stitch we work 3 trebles, and we do that 23 times without the corner. So it's important that you leave the corner unworked. We're going to get there in a moment. So between this point and this point we're going to work 23, and you're kind of going to have to eyeball that, you know, where they fit. Now what I'm going to do is going to work 6, I believe 6, 6, 6, and then 5. I believe that works out to 23. So I'm going to work 6 on each, on this edge, 6 here, 6 here, and then 5 here, and then that way kind of evenly distribute them. But I'll just zoom in and show you how I start this. So just to make a start on this, what I'm going to do is I'm just going to skip a stitch and then work in the next stitch, work 3 trebles. So 1, 2, 3, and then that's the first of those 3 treble groups. And now I'm going to skip 2 stitches and then work 3 trebles in the next. And like I said, this is a little arbitrary whether you skip 1 stitch or 2 stitches, and this has more to do with you know, getting those evenly spaced. And sometimes you'll skip 1 stitch. For example, I'll just skip 1 stitch, and sometimes you'll skip 2, and this is all at your discretion, you know, how you want to space those stitches. So now I've got 3, so now I'm going to skip 2 stitches again here, and then I've got 4. See, now I've got 4 treble groups, and now I skip 2 stitches again. 2, 3, and I need a bit of yarn, and then I'm going to do another one, so skipping 1, 2 stitches, and I'm going to work that here. 1, 2, 3. So now I've got 6, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 along that edge. But this was of course a bit easier because you've got those stitches there, so you can kind of skip that. But here on the next one, this is one of those rougher edges, and here you're really going to have to play this by feel. So where you put those trebles. So I'm just going to put them here. So here, this is my first group. There. And then that's again going to be the first of 6. So I'll make 5 more here, and then come to the next and work 5. Oh, sorry, 5, and then the next here work 6, and then on my last one work 5 again, and that'll be 23 in total. So go ahead and work all 23 of these, evenly distributing these groups that you have them exactly where you feel that they work, and then I'll see you back here at the corner for the corner and going around and working the bottom edge. So I'm here at the next up is the corner. So I've worked 23 of those granny groups here along the edge. Now we're going to rotate our work again, so because we're going to work on the bottom edge. So now I've got it upside down. I'm going to start here in the corner. You've got that chain corner space there. In that corner space, work 3 trebles. So that's 1, 2, 3, chain 3, and then 3 more trebles in this same space. So you're making a corner. 1, 2, 3. There we go. Now I'm going to just turn my work a little bit more. Now I'm going to work again these granny stitches, these 3 trebles here along the bottom edge. On this first square, I'm going to only work 5 of them. So I'm going to work them in the spaces and in the corner. That gives you 5. And then for each of the next squares, I'm going to work 6 of those groups. So here on the first one we work 5, and then we work 6 right up to the last one, and that one again only gets 5. So in that sense it's symmetrical. So this is my, I just split my yarn a bit. For example, that's the first group there. Now I'm choosing to make them in the spaces here, but you don't have to. You can also make them somewhere else where you think, okay, that works better. So I'm going to work them here. So 1, 2, this is 3, and this is 4. Just going a little faster so I can show you what I mean. I believe this is 4. So yes, I've worked 4 groups there. So you remember the corner doesn't count, so that's 4 groups. Then we're just going to work 1 here, and then this is 5. So 5 groups. So I've just done the 5, and now we're going to do a repeat, not with 5 grannies, but with 6 here over this granny square, and a chain 1. Now chain 1. This chain 1 is always before the 6. So chain 1. And now over the next square, going to work 6 of these. So just now we had 5, so now 6. And again, make a bit of a judgment on where you want to place them. I'm going to put the first one here. 1, 2, 3 trebles. And this is then the second group, and these I'm going to put in the holes because I feel that that works well. And then I'll put the last one again somewhere else, and that has to do with this equal spacing. You know, you just kind of place them where you think they work, because there's no explicit stitch that it has to go into. Okay, now I've got 4, and then this here is 5, and here and then that last one, number 6 on this repeat, I'm actually going to put it here. 1, 2. Oh, that was 3. Now this is the repeat, so from that chain 1 and these 6 times 3 trebles, going to repeat this, well, basically to the end. And on your final repeat, you're not going to have 6 of these, but 5, just like you have here. So on every square, you have 6 of these trebles and a chain 1 in between. And repeat this until the end, and then I'll see you for the corner. Now I'm all the way to the other side, so I've worked 6 of these 3 treble groups, and in the last one I've worked only 5, and then you're at the corner, and the corner is the same as the corner on the other side. So in here is 3 trebles, chain 3, and 3 trebles. 1, 2, 3 trebles, chain 3, 1, 2, 3, and then 3 more trebles, and 3. There we go. You're just going to mark this corner here with a stitch marker, and this is just so that we know where it is. This is for the starting point on the next few rounds. So I'm just going to mark this chain 3 space with a marker. Then rotate your work again, and here along this edge, going to do the same as on the other side. So I'll just talk you through it. So you're going to work 23 of these 3 treble groups and evenly space them. So I'm again going to work 5 on the first one, and then 6, 6, and 6. And then I'll see you back over here. So work 23 times 3 trebles along this edge. I've just worked those groups of 3 trebles, and now there's only one thing left to do in this stitch where we started. So here you have those 2 trebles, and they're going to work 2 more trebles in that same stitch. One, 2 trebles. I'm just going to place a marker in this last stitch we worked, and the reason for that is because this is a corner, then we can easily find it. Now close to the first stitch, that's the beginning treble here with a slip stitch. And at this point you can cut your yarn and fasten off. We've now completed the panel. We've got granny stitches all the way around, so we've got this lovely panel, and now we're going to join this panel to the rest of the blanket, because you can see how these zigzags are all line up to what you already have. Now where we're going to start, I'm just going to zoom in here with this marked corner. Remember we marked this chain 3 corner. I'm going to zoom in, and we're going to start here, and then we're going to work up along this edge. So here's that marked corner where we're going to start. So I'm just going to remove the marker, so it makes it easier. I'm going to start there by attaching with a slip stitch. In the corner we're going to work 3 trebles. Now the first treble is of course a beginning treble. That's a double and a chain 1, followed by 2 more trebles. 1, 2. So 3 trebles in that corner space. We're now going to move along this edge and work 3 trebles between the treble groups on the previous row. We're going to do 24 of them. That will bring you here to the corner. Your last one will be over there. So 24 of these 3 treble groups. 1, 2, 3. So that's the first one. So do 24 of these, and then I'll see you back. So I'm going to do a jump in the video again. 2, 3. There we go. So this was 2 times. Do 22 more. Then you're here, and then I'll see you back. So I've worked 24 of these 3 treble groups, and now you're in that space just before, here's the marked corner. And now we're going to start joining this to the blanket. So you see there there's the edge of the panel on the blanket. So chain 1, and then here in the marked stitch, this is the corner, I'm just going to remove that marker, work a double. There. And now we're going to start joining, and we're going to do this in the same way as before with the pulling the loop through and the chain 3s and everything. So here's the panel, so you see, and there's the first valley, so these line up like this, and you're going to join this, well, the way we've done before. I'll just get you started on the join. And I've just got an extra yarn tail here, there we go. So how to get started. Chain 1. Open up the loop, and then come to the first loop here on the blanket. There. Push your hook through from top to bottom. Grab that loop again, pull it through, chain 2, then skipping 2 stitches here on the panel where we're currently at, so skipping 1, 2 stitches, work a double, and that you're going to repeat until you're to the other side, so till the entire panel is joined. So chain 1, open this loop, come to the next join, pull through, chain 2, skipping 1, 2 stitches, work a double. Chain 1, pull the loop through, chain 2, skip 1, 2 stitches, and work a double. Well, I've now got you started, so you can see here's the join that you've just made. So work this entire edge and this whole zigzag, so up down, until you're to the other side, and your last double will fall in that marked stitch that's on the other side. I'll see you back when I'm almost there. So for now, continue this join and join the entire 4th panel to your blanket. I've just done that entire join, and your last double falls here in the marked stitch. So this entire join. I'm just going to remove the marker because it's just going to be in the way now. Then here on this edge we need to work these 3 trebles between the trebles again, just like we did on the other side. So just a chain 1, and then skipping this 1 treble you have there, come to the space, and in that space work 3 trebles. So 1, 2, 3, and that's the first group. I'm going to do 24, so again between all the stitches, and that will bring you here. This will be number 24. Then do not work the corner, so here we're going to stop. So work 24 of these 3 treble groups. When you've worked that repeat 24 times, this is where you're at, just before the corner. See, the corner is still unworked. This is where you're at. Leave your yarn attached. I've got a stitch marker in my loop, so just leave this yarn attached, because from this point on we're going to work the border. But now you have your entire blanket joined up, and it's just the border that we have to do. Round 1 of the border. This border round is all about just getting your chain spaces right, And if you notice that your stitch count is off somewhere, just use this round to correct for that. We're going to actually continue from where we finished the double or the treble groups. You see all these treble groups, so we're just going to continue from there. And we're going to start with a double. And here's the last 3 trebles. Skipping 2, come to the third one. That's before the corner space. In that treble, work a double. Chain 3, 1, 2, 3, and work a double in the same stitch. And this is your new corner, and I'm just going to mark this corner with the stitch marker so that I can find it more easily later. So because you're going to have so many chain 3 spaces, it's kind of easy to know which one is the corner. Now I'm going to rotate and work along the first edge of the blanket. Chain 3, 1, 2, 3, and here in the corner space from the previous round, work a double. There we go. Then chain 3 again, skipping 2 stitches, work a double. So 1, 2, skip, and work a double. And I'm just going to mark this stitch, and the reason is this stitch is the stitch just before a repeat. So we're now going to work a repeat, and it's kind of going to be easier if I mark just where the repeats start. So this double doesn't count for the repeat, but now we do. Chain 3, 1, 2, 3, and then skip 2 stitches, work a double. And we're going to do this 6 times. So that was 1, 1, 2, 3, skip 2 stitches, work a double, 1, 2, 3 chains, 1, 2, skip, now work a double, 1, 2, 3 chain, skip 1, 2 stitches, and work a double. How many have I got now? 1, 2, I've got 4. You see, that's why it's easy with the stitch markers, and I can just at a glance see how many I have. 1, 2, 3, then skip 1, 2 stitches, and work a double. So this is 5, so I need to do one more. Chain 3, and skip 3 stitches, and this chain also counts, so that's 1, 2 stitches, and then in the third stitch work a double. So I'm going to skip 2 stitches there, so the chain also counts. Now I've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, so I've done this 6 times. And now it's a little different. Chain 3, 1, 2, 3, and then skip 3 stitches, 1, 2, 3, and then work a double. And this is the repeat. Now I'm just again going to mark this stitch, because this is the end of this repeat, and it helps me to count, because this you're going to be doing 16 more times. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 times, skipping 2 stitches, and then the 7th is skip 3 stitches or spaces. You're going to have a few spaces along the way, but repeat this 16 more times, and then that will bring you to the end, to the next corner, and that's where I'll see you back. And I'm just going to mark every repeat to help me count, but you don't have to if you don't want to. So if this doesn't work for you, just leave out all of those stitch markers, that's fine. But I'll see you at the end of this edge. I'm all the way to the other side. I've done this repeat 17 times, and there's just a handful of stitches left, and then you're at the corner. So chain 3, 1, 2, 3. Then here in the corner space, you've already got those stitches in there, but in this corner space work a double. So this gives you an extra chain 3, and then again chain 3, 1, 2, 3. And now we're going to come to this beginning stitch that we worked here. In that stitch we're going to work a corner. So here in the beginning stitches is it. Let me just get my hook in there. This is a double, chain 3 and a double in the same stitch. Oh dear, split my yarn a bit, there we go. So you can see there a double, chain 3 and a double. So I'm just going to mark that stitch as the new corner, and then I'll remove all these stitch markers that I have here along the edge. Now I'm going to rotate, and now we're going to work along the long edge. Now we've got 4 panels along the edge that you're going to work here. Now the first one you're going to have is panel 4, which is this one here with all the squares, and along this one you're going to do chain 3, 1, 2, 3, then skip 2 stitches, so 1, 2, skip, and then work a double. And that you're going to do, so these little first 3 stitch repeat, going to work along panel 4 and panel 3, 1, 2, and then work a double. And continue that until you're at panel 2, and then you have chain loops, and then I'll show you what to do there. But for now, 1, 2, continue this right until you're at panel 2. I've gone quite a way along the edge, and this here is the join between panel 3 and 2. And I'd like to show you how I deal with the join, because this is also something you're going to have at several places, and then I'll show you panel 2. So it's chain 3, and then here in the join, here in this space, I just also work a double, and that's just to help me bridge this join. I've done that at other joins also. Then again chain 3, and now you're moving on to panel 2, and the idea is that in the chain spaces of panel 2 you work a double, and then chain 3 between them, and then this is the next chain space, here you work a double, then again chain 3, and then come to the next chain space and then work a double. And this you're going to continue until you're right at the corners. You're going to do this for this entire panel 2, and then you'll do it for panel 1 as well, where you're going to have stitches again. So there you're going to do this double, chain 3, skip 2 stitches. So you're going to do that on panel 1, which is, if I can just find it, the blanket is rather large. So here you're going to have the last chain spaces, then bridge this gap here, so in here somewhere work a double, and then you're going to have these stitches again, so skipping 2 stitches and a double, skip 2 stitches and a double, right until you're to the corner. And this is the point where I'll see you back. Right, I'm almost to the corner here. This is the corner marked at the top of the first panel. I'm going to do 3 more chain stitches, and then in this corner stitch going to work a double, chain 3 and a double, so that's a new corner. So a double, just remove the marker, chain 3 and a double. There we go. I'm just going to put the marker back so that I know that that's my corner. Now at this point just count your chain 3 loops that you have here. You should have 138, and it's possible that you don't. Then go back and just work like a few extra. For example, at the joins, those are good places to work extra, to just work an extra chain loop. Or for example, here on the panel, what I've done is, for example, here I've just skipped 1 stitch instead of 2, and that way I just also have like an extra loop. So little things that I'm doing to just get my stitch count right. So at the joins and other places, because you want to have 138 of these chain 3 loops. I'm going to assume you have that, so I'm just going to continue. And chain 3, actually we're going to be doing the same along this entire edge onto the corner. Chain 3, skipping 2 stitches, so 1, 2, skip, and work a double, and you're going to do that all the way until you're to the corner. So continue in the same fashion. Chain 3, skip 1, 2 stitches and work a double. There we go. And you're going to do this 123 times. I'm almost to the end, to the next corner. So again, just the last chain 3, and here in the marked corner a double, chain 3 and a double in the same stitch to make a new corner. I'm just going to mark the corner here again. And now you have only one edge left, this one here, and on this edge you're again going to work 138 of these loops. Now it's exactly the same way as on the other side, so I'm not going to show that to you, but again, now chain 3, skip 2 stitches, 1 stitch, whichever works, and then 138 of those loops. And when you get right back to the beginning of this round, close on that first stitch with a slip stitch, and then you can also leave your yarn attached, because we're going to work with this color again in the next round. But what's important at this point is your stitch count. On the short edges you have 123 loops, and on the long edges you have 138 loops. Round 2 of the border. I'm currently in that double crochet there just before the corner space. So just move with a slip stitch to the corner. Now this round is easier. In the corners I'm going to work a double, chain 3 and a double. I'll just take out this marker. I'll put it back in a moment. So a double, chain 3 and a double. There we go. And then this is your new corner. You're going to do this for all your corners. Then along the straight edge, chain 3, and in the chain space work a double. And this you're going to work all the way around. So that means a chain 3 with doubles in the chain space, and when you get to a corner you're of course going to do chain 3, and then in the corner it's a double, chain 3, double. So that's it for this round. It's considerably easier than the previous round. So just the chain 3, double, chain 3, double all the way round, and your corners as I showed here. Then close on your first stitch with a slip stitch, and again leave your yarn attached. Round 3 of the border. I've just gone previous rounds all the way around, and then here I'm in that first stitch with a slip stitch, so I'm just going to move to the corner stitch with a slip stitch. Now in the corner we're just going to start with like a starting corner. So here I'm going to make a beginning treble. So it's a double crochet and chain 1, that's beginning treble. Then chain 3, which is a corner space, and then 2 more trebles here in the same corner. 1, 2. Now I'm just going to mark this corner space here. Now the corner is actually 2 trebles, chain 3 and 2 trebles, but that first treble here, actually you're actually going to work that when you're all the way around, then you're going to complete this corner. So corner is 2 trebles, chain 3 and 2 trebles, but note here you're going to complete it when you're all the way around. Now the straight edge is the same right across. Chain 1, and then in the space here, this chain 3 space, 2 trebles. 1, 2, and that you're going to work all the way across. So chain 1, and then 2 trebles. 1, 2, and again chain 1, and in the next space 2 trebles. 1, 2. I'm going to repeat that until you get to the next corner. Then the next corner, if I just imagine that this here is the next corner, is then chain 1, and then if this were to be a corner, you would then do 2 trebles. Just need some yarn, and then of course a chain 3 for a corner and 2 trebles, and then that would be your repeat all the way round. But this is of course not right here, so I'm just going to take this out. And there we go. So repeat all the way around, 2 trebles in the chain space, chain 1s in between, and your corners are 2 trebles, chain 2, 2 trebles. When you're here at the beginning, close on your first stitch after you've worked your last treble, and then you can also fasten off your yarn and actually turn your work. The next row we're going to have the wrong side facing. Round 4 of the border, you have the wrong side facing, so that's important. And we're going to start in any corner space. I'm just going to remove the marker. And we're going to attach yarn with a slip stitch in that corner stitch. There we go. Now we're going to start with the corner. The corner is a beginning, is a treble, but of course we're going to do a beginning treble, so that's a double and a chain 1. Then chain 1 and another treble. Then again chain 1 and a treble, and again chain 1 and a treble. So here in the corner you have 4 trebles and chain 1s in between. So this is a corner that you're going to be doing on all the corners. And of course this chain space exactly in the middle, that's your new corner. So treble, chain 1, treble, chain 1, treble, chain 1, treble. On the edge you're going to do the same all the way to the other side. In every chain space, so you're going to come to the chain space, you're going to skip the treble. So here in the chain spaces, going to work a treble, chain 1, treble. So here that means treble, chain 1, treble. Then come to the next space, and again there, treble, chain 1, treble. And this you're going to work all the way to the other side. So treble, chain 1, treble, until you're to the corner. And then the corner is the same as this one, so 4 trebles and 3 chain 1s. Repeat this all the way around, and when you're here back at the beginning, close on that first stitch with a slip stitch, and then you can also fasten off. Round 5, last round of the blanket. You have the right side facing, so you've turned your work from the previous round, and what's important, you're going to be working this round with a 2mm hook, so you need to drop a hook size from your normal hook. Going to attach in a corner space, doesn't matter which corner space. I'm going to take this one, attach there with a slip stitch. Remove the marker, and we don't need it anymore, so I won't be putting it back. In this corner space, and actually in every space, you're going to be working a treble, picot, treble. For the first stitch, it's of course a beginning treble, so it's a double and a chain 1. So this is the treble. Now the picot is a chain 3, 1, 2, 3, and then come back to the base of the stitch, which in this case here is this first chain, and work a double in there. There we go. And this I am finding a bit tricky, that it tends to snag the yarn because the hook size is a bit smaller. And then in the same space work another treble. And this we're going to be doing all the way around. I'll show you again because a treble is going to be a bit different for the picot. So in your next space you're going to be working in every space. In your next space work a treble, treble, then a picot, so that's the chain 3, and then come down to the side of the stitch, there, that little gap, insert your hook and work a double, and now work another treble in the same space. And this you're going to do all the way round. And when you get back to the beginning, you come here to this first stitch and close on there with a slip stitch. I'll just show you the repeat once more, and then you can just go on without me. So in the next chain space, a treble, chain 3 to start the picot, and then come here to the side of this stitch, so in there work a double, and then another treble in this space. You can see I'm splitting the yarn a bit because the hook size is for me just a bit too small with this yarn. There we go. So I now did this 3 times. You need to do 100 times more, and then when you get at the beginning, close, fasten off, and work away your yarn tails. And when you're all done, work away your last yarn tails, and then just take a moment to block your blanket, because that will really even out all these edges and just make them nicely line up. Well, that brings us to the end of this project. So thank you for watching, and I hope to see you again next time.